afraid I have wasted the best part of my life. And how can I move forward when I already know that? What are the next few years of my life? What is the rest of my life going to be like? Knowing that, I'm about to find out. Because even though I'm a best-selling author, I've got huge fears. And like most men, I need to touch them. So I'm going to share some of mine right now. When I start thinking about this, I think about the song or the lyrics of a song that come to mind. You might recognize it. It's like time goes by so slowly. I hunger for your touch. Just came to mind when I started wondering about this. I mean, I'm single, so when I look at this point of my life, I start thinking about maybe attraction is a word, but mathematically speaking, I'm over the hump of attraction. In other words, actually, maybe the word hump is not a good word, but I'm on the other side of what should be considered attractive. I'm not looking for actual feedback on that specifically, but I'm saying my age group means that when you get to middle age, you're not considered as attractive for prospective mates, for potential love, relationships, and so on. And so now it begins to eke into my thoughts with regard to, did I miss the boat? Did I miss the boat with regard to the potential of the one, the marriage of perfection for me? And I look around at all my peers, and when I say peers, I mean specifically peers, people that are my age. And even yesterday I saw somebody who's actually a year younger than me, and I met him very briefly about a month ago. I hadn't seen him in a few years, and at time of this recording I wouldn't have seen him since before the pandemic, which was a few years back. Now, we would have crossed paths quite a lot just after school. We would have bumped into each other almost daily. I think we were in college together, and I don't think I even knew him in school, maybe just to see him. But anyway, saw him a few days ago, yesterday, and he's married for years and years and years with children. And I know his wife, very nice person. He's very nice too. And I could see him yesterday briefly. I didn't speak to him yesterday. I did about a month ago. But when I saw him just very briefly, he was trying to converse with one of his children, one of his many children. I think he's at least 3 or 4, and trying to wager with them to try and get them to do basically what he wanted them to do, which was calm down, cool the jets, and let's just have a chat and stay with me. And they were watching something. We were all kind of at an event, and he just wanted to listen and watch it. The child was running all around, as children do. Small child now, under 10, I'd say. I'd say even under 8. And he's a good guy. He's really calm. He's nice. He's gentle. He just wanted a bit of peace and quiet with regard to the child, which is normal, I think. And that moment, it was just a split second, because I was looking this way and he kind of walked by with the child, just in my viewpoint as such, line of vision. And it's a split second like that you kind of go, you know, this is a really, and it was a suitable place to bring children. It was very beneficial for children. It was very beneficial for adults. It was a brilliant thing. But in that moment, you're kind of thinking, God, that could be me. And when I look back and say his alignment of his life with mine, and as I said, he was in college, we went to college around the same time, and he just met this girl. They just got on like a house on fire. They're going with each other. I lost touch with him for a few years, good few years, most of my adult life, to be honest. And I was surprised when I bumped into him about a month ago and did speak with him. that he told me he was still with the same girl, got married for years and years and years, and has, again, a lot of children. And when I say a lot, it's a lot. And seemed very content. And he seemed to be getting on straight away, collectively well with himself, obviously, and his lovely other after 20 odd years. And I can't even now but feel as if, God, what was I doing then? Like, was I absent? Was I physically there? Yeah, I was. I was in all the same places he was in. I was in the nightclubs and the pubs and the events. In fact, I was probably around him the night he met her. Very, very, very high likelihood of that. And I think to myself, not that I was interested in his wife or anything like that, or her even at the time, but I think to myself, like, why did it not happen for me then? That's strange. Was I not doing all the right things? Was I not going all the right places? I mean, I was in the same places as him, and I can attest, she's a lovely person, very attractive woman. He's a good guy. So they've had a wonderful time so far, and lovely children. It's all good. Works hard, and they get on well. So I think to myself, well, hang on a second. Did I not get on well with women along the way? And the answer is yes, I did. And then I think to myself, did I not go places? And the answer is I did. And I think to myself, many other things that obviously I compare with the likes of him and myself. Alignment with his life and lifestyle. And I think to myself, how am I in this situation? Is the best of me not gone? And then when you're that age, I know certainly for me when I was that age, 20 years younger or even 10 years younger, at different times during that period, and even more than 20 years by the way, but at different times during that period, I think of situations, good opportunities to meet people, good opportunities to be with people, good opportunities to lengthen relationships, sustain relationships, good opportunities to deepen relationships, lengthen and sustain relationships, bring on the finger time, all those things. And then I think of what was said to me a few times as well over the years, amongst other things. I'm sure you'll be able to understand this one as well, if you're single, that is. Oh, you didn't choose. You didn't choose to have somebody. And I think to myself, like, okay, let me think now. Sometimes I've decided to answer that stupid suggestion of choice insofar as you can choose a job, yes. You can choose a career, yes. You can choose to buy a house, build a house, yes. You can choose to rent, you can choose to travel, you can choose to be an adventurer, you can choose lots of things. But a lot of those things are inanimate. When you choose to have a relationship of quality, of length, of sustainability, of purpose, there is the choice that you make, but there's also another person. And that other person also has choice. Oh. It's like the bumpy cars. When you have bumpy cars, it's just a car. That's a really nice car. And you start driving along and you have a great time. And when I was a child, I loved to get into the bumpy cars because I knew, well, I was driving a car. I was only like 8 years of age. And driving a car was like, woohoo, I got the keys, here we go. But the bumpy cars was a thing where you got in and the little car was like a mini. And it was within this rink as such, like a skating rink, where on the ceiling you had this, what looked like a suspended ceiling type thing. But in fact, what it was electric, some sort of electrical bolts and bits and bobs where they connected up with this antenna that was coming from the top of the car, and that was clicking along and utilizing and giving it power, and the car would just go zip. The steering was a bit dodgy, wasn't that great, and you'd inevitably not be able to go too straight, too long, and of course it was a small enough rink that you were in, and you'd end up bumping into another car, essentially crashing. But the cars then had that rubber type ring around them, and when you hit the car, the next car, you're like, you have this jolt and such, and it was kind of fun, and it was very much fun when you try to get forward with things, because another car would come from behind and hit you again, and you'd bump, and sometimes you try to reverse and try to go forward. You wouldn't go too far, and then the idea was trying to navigate through. And I think when you have a choice, and the presumption of others that you have a choice, especially when you get to this age, a certain age, that it's just your choice, and you did not choose marriage because you did not make that choice, or you made another choice, you chose singlehood or whatever. But it's not that simple, because like a bumpy car, if somebody else decided to drive the other way, or others came in and bumped against you, what happens? You don't have the straight line. You don't have the ability to go forward. You're static, you're stopped. And over the years, things have changed. Thankfully, where, say, in the case of myself, and I like ladies, there's other sexualities and genders and so on out there. I'm not going to get into them. Just, this is for the heterosexuals out there. But for me, thankfully, women have had more choice. And that's a good thing. So I'm not even getting into thinking about what women, or individual women, which would be woman, would think at any time. But from my point of view, my accountability, it's not always just my choice. There are others involved. And so that put a dampener with regard to an answer on certain suggestions over the years that it has been your choice. No, there's other people that have choices too. And certain people that say that don't understand that. And the reason being is because times have changed. For better or for worse, they've changed. Nothing stays the same. And then this concept of the one. Yeah, I remember watching rom-coms, romantic comedies. And to be honest, I was drawn in by the comedy. I can recall great actors like Adam Sandler. Say, there was a guy, wasn't there? And not Sandler, no, another guy. And he was there. John Cusack, he was there for a few years. He'd done a few of them as well. And there was others. And like Jim Carrey had a few good ones as well, though probably not as rom-com as the rest of the previously mentioned ones. But every dog has its day, and every actor had its day, and there was actresses. That's when they were called actresses at the time. And sometimes when you see their first movie, maybe drawn in by a comedy part of it, you keep an eye out for them. And that was a time as well of less, if not, no, there was no internet. Certainly not where I was. Well, it's coming into the world, but it certainly wasn't coming into my world. No smartphones, no iPhones, no instantaneous gratification through phones or media like that. And so an actor, a film, a movie, and by the way, it was a film where I was, it wasn't a movie, was cherished, and you look forward to And you rewound it back, like, you know, and you watched it again and again and again. And of course, you'd have to rewind it back if you were to bring it back to the video store. Now, warning anybody listening or watching this and doesn't understand anything I've just said in the last 10 sentences, just don't worry about it, because it's too technological now to explain it to you. Anyways, you would cherish the actor or female actor at that time. And so if another film came out, then you would say, yeah, I'll go. I'll have a look at that. A go at that, as they would say in my place. And that was pretty cool. So, drawn in by comedy, infatuated by the romantic element. One such one was Notting Hill, Julia Roberts, and how this famous female actor could be, like, on billboards and across TV and lauded by everybody, amazed and adored. And yet one bookstore owner who was just a little bit fuddy-duddy, a little bit stuck in the mud. Hugh Grant was the actor. And he just judged her because she was a person that came into his bookstore one time. He didn't know anything about her fame, and she picked up on it pretty quickly. And I won't say or ruin the rest for you, but they got to know each other, and the concept of that even back then was barely possible. But that was the beauty of it. It was still possible. There was a possibility that you could be that famous, be that well known, and still put something over your head, hat, scarf, whatever, walk into a bookstore and not be recognized by somebody there, spark up conversation and feel like a normal human being, and build friendships and relationships from that. All changed since, with lots of things, social media and cameras everywhere. Cameras on me right now, like these flies. And of course, dating, ways of dating changed hugely since then. The concept of the one, having the one, there's one person out there, like a star in the sky. There's one person there for you. No matter what you do, no matter who you are, there's one person. You can be good or bad. It doesn't matter. It'll be the same person for you. It's fate. Right. I'll just look up to the sky now and I don't see stars. So there's hardly a star for me. Not now. Maybe it's because I'm too old. Maybe it's because I missed the boat. That concept too. Missing the boat. Don't miss the boat now. And maybe I have. Maybe I haven't. Maybe relationships like that are a lot more practically based from both sexes or genders, depending on your viewpoint or whatever, insofar as needs must from both sides, or there's like two jigsaw pieces, very different, that fit into each other from a practically mannered series of elements, some economic, some personal, some... There's a concept in psychology is very interesting as well, insofar as we are often attracted to what we know, what we already know, the type of personality that we're already comfortable with, that we know how to deal with. And most notably, and you know how to deal with lots of personalities, I know that. But it's more your intimate upbringing, those personalities, those traits are effectively the ones that draw you in from a romantic partner's point of view, or potential romantic partner's point of view. And that's kind of explaining how you've probably heard this before. How you can love somebody. I'm in love with them. I'm in love with them. But God, I hate them. Why do they do that? Why are they like this? And we all know that. We've probably all gone through that. That's probably the human element of us too. But with that said, psychologically, the advice there would be to discard that type of personality, or at least from the outset, upon meeting them or understanding that they are that type of personality, to assess them and see the potential of them changing or progressing in some way to be more aligned with your cognitive wish of what a person should be for you. And what should a person be for you? Well, a person for you is probably similar to a person for me. Somebody who's good looking, somebody who's attractive, somebody who's a nice personality insofar as they have money. They have a good job, stable income. They are pretty upbeat, pretty energetic, all the good stuff. But then you'd have like robots in relationships, wouldn't you? Mr. and Mrs. Perfect. Where would the fun be in that? Where would the fun be in a relationship? You'd probably have a very successful one. Very successful home life, perfect children, 2.2 children, as they say, and go from there. But then when you land back to somebody like me, and somebody perhaps like you, who's wondering about the same thing. So look, we do human things, and it's very easy to say those things, like, here's the psychological advice. But depending on where you live, depending on the amount of people, depending on lots of different elements, economics, money, job choice, problems with your family, problems with your potential for job or promotion, physical health, mental health, and so on. You can whittle down the numbers of the potential suitors for you, or you being for others in the same regard. And the numbers pretty much go downhill pretty quickly. And that's even in your 20s or late teens, if you're so intent on getting together with somebody at that stage. But certainly by your 30s and mid-30s onwards, you've got this surety that the numbers decrease a lot. And therefore your potential to have the choice of the one is a lot more decreased. And so therefore you have time to think about it, time to assess. And that can be good, but it can also be potentially irritating because you're assessing maybe people in the past rather than people in the present because you don't have as many people in the present. So then you kind of wonder, well, we're wondering what is it that is so great about this marriage thing anyway? Well, if you think the best of you is gone, what and why was it designed in the human capacity for people to get together anyway, generally in their, say, teens, 20s, 30s, rather than the 50s, 60s, 70s? I mean, if we're all living older, why can't we have the best relationship of our life later on in our life? Especially if we know more about ourselves, we know perhaps if they earn more money, we're more settled, we have more wisdom, we have more intent to spend time with another. Well, there's a little sticking point in between, isn't there? It's called children. Copulation. Potentially building the population of like-minded citizens. And of course, there's been fantastic medical advances over the years, which has seen growth of life course and people having less diseases in some regard, better hospital care, and science is amazing, no doubt about it, what it can do. But then you have this little itty bitty thing called for some reason, there's still a medical general advice to procreate in your earlier part of your life. Even though you could ask the question about a lot of potential mothers and fathers, they're too immature nowadays and that. But we're still designed in that way biologically to have babies younger. Because energy is very, very important. And of course, why is it important? Well, you've got the nature-nurture debate, which is a huge debate across psychology, sociology, and so on, with regard to, and in education, with regard to what it is, if this youngster or young person has talent, did it come from nature or did it come from nurture? Did it come from, if they don't have talent, if they're truant or troublesome, did it come from the family? Is it the genetics, or was it the way they were taught or not taught? That's a big question as well. So, in order to make sure you have as much nature and nurture on your side, you propagate the species earlier on. That's not to say that there can't be medical miracles at certain ages. Steering clear of that for now, I look back and I think of, well, potential for becoming a father of children biologically at certain times in my life. And for me, crazy or not, but my thinking was at that time, well, obviously I'm a guy, so asexual reproduction is a great thing. I remember reading about it in science class. I'm thinking that those plants, they're super amazing what they can do with their seeds. Now they can just, a little bit of breeze of wind can pop them in the soil beside them and maybe across the way, and suddenly you have a field full of beautiful flowers. In the research, it was Stephen Mintz, the author and researcher, who said that there's a huge change at the time of a prime of life. That is, the prime of life that I've spoken about briefly already, the best part of your life, your early 20s and 30s. There's a huge change that has happened over the last few years. And this is remarkable research. In his research, he said that men and women have been waiting until their 30s. And they've established their careers then, at that stage. Then they settle down and have children. But this is going against the normal emblem of what has happened before. It's going against adult identity in his view. His view is that people at midlife then, because of that, struggle at maintaining full-time, long-term careers, rearing families successfully, having good relationships, sustaining friendships, and also getting a really good feeling from it all, as well as understanding and coping with the aging process. It's Mintz that says that this period, this prime of life, has always been shaped by gender and class. And we have to look out for that ourselves when we think of our own lives at this point. Now, the interesting thing about this research is that Mintz, that researcher, believed that it is the start of this individualistic time, this period of life, that people in this generation have changed in comparison to previous generations who attained better things and a better feeling throughout their period of the time of life. But in that same science class and in others, and a lot more studies ever since, I've yet to see the fact that a male like myself can go it all alone very successfully from conception right up through the nature-nurture debate into child rearing. So the single parent, from biologically speaking, is generally the female with regard to the conception onwards. So when we think of choice, the word that was used earlier on with regard to marriage and long-term relationships, it actually negates your choice. It means that you have less choice because you're not equal in that regard. You don't have the biological parts to do that. So I pretty much knew that instinctively, and most guys do. But therefore, it depended, and I'm saying this upon reflection, but also very aligned with my thinking at the time, because I remember this. And with my inability to be able to wiggle off that and open up your mind to other options. And it depended on having a woman, and in what I would regard as a good woman, insofar as having a good relationship, good long-term relationship, as they say, or marriage and so on. And then that would be very individualized when I say the word good towards me and for me, and I to her. So that didn't occur, not in that regard. Now that doesn't mean to say that you couldn't have a baby first and marriage afterwards, or baby comes along first and the relationship grows after that. I'm not saying that. I'm not even getting into that. Not now anyway. So that's the way the cookie crumbled in that regard up until now. So you wouldn't know the future with that. I certainly won't be finding around this field, let's say, anyway, where I'm going right now. But then again, you wouldn't know either, because the funny thing about that is, I recall during the pandemic, COVID-19, go for my little walks, big walks as well, and runs and cycles and so on and so forth. But being restricted to a certain geographical area at that time meant that one, I say one, I mean many, but everyone had to make do with what was around them. Which meant that the basic needs, and this is dipping into a guy called, in psychology, I'll think of him in a second, Maslow, Abraham Maslow. And he had a thing called the hierarchy of needs, and essentially it's a pyramid-like structure where your basic needs must be met first in order for more needs and then wants to be met after that. And at that time, because there was the basic need to connect with people, to speak with people, to talk to people, that was not being met. And so I went for my walks and whatever, and I met a couple of ladies. Not at one time, but at different times. But the ease of which these total strangers and myself started talking out in the open was unparalleled, unmatched with anything that had happened before, probably, or since. So the depth of conversation graduated very quickly. Now, you couldn't ask them out because there was nowhere to go out to. But it wasn't even that. Like, it wasn't even that wasn't the conversation with regard to attraction, two people wanting to meet each other in that regard. But just the ease of funneling into a conversation that could be in any way pleasant, not flirty, but pleasant, was fantastic, if I'm honest. Which makes me think right now, and even looking back, reflecting on times before, being single, about trying to mingle, about trying to meet the right one, about all of these things, that it's really important to have a time and a place, and the timing of it, don't get me started on that, for people to have a pleasant opening interaction and continually pleasant interaction, especially in the early days. Basic human communication is what I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about the spark or chemistry that a lot of people go on about. It's a different type of depth, if you want, if you will. So I found it very interesting, and it's something that I'll always remember, certainly. Where the human race is going for now, I don't know with regard to that. But all I know is that despite the fact that I'm this age, despite the fact I don't have those things, despite the fact that the question mark over the best of me being gone, best part of my life, the energy and so on, for all these things is there, and it's a big question mark now. Look, being honest, I'm probably perceived as being a dud by many on the outside, because they just don't understand that. Like, why is a man single at this age? Why is a woman single at this age? They don't have children, they're not married. What's that all about? That's your own business to think that. But if you watch this video, you get the answers, won't you? Certainly up until now. At least the answers of one person with regard to their experience. And that's not at all either. Because I remember thinking to myself, even earlier on when we were speaking in this video about what you've missed and your energy and the best of you going and that. And when I spoke about a schoolmate, guy, or college mate, I started thinking about another guy who I met. Lovely guy. Very funny, actually. We were in school together, so it goes way back. And we just had that glint for each other, just a bit of fun. We used to laugh at each other and have jokes. And he's single, and to the best of my knowledge, no children as well. But we had a brief chat there, maybe about 18 months ago, I'd say. We wouldn't be super duper friends or anything like that, but I mean, we get on really well, but just we didn't have the same social circles right about after school and that. So often people's social circles connect after that and they get streamlined from there on. But I mean, if we were to sit down right now, we'd have a laugh for a long time and always respectfully be friends, just not close friends as such. But I think he's the type that as the years go on will become closer. Certainly a lot in common in that regard, in the personal connection type way. And we struck up a conversation about these serious things about 18 months ago. And it was a very short conversation because we have this fun connection as well. And he just looked at me and he said, we were sitting down and he said to me, how's life and where are you at in life and all of that? Have you ticked the boxes of all these things, marriage, children, so on and so forth? And like two lads, we kind of got through that pretty quickly. And then instead we got to the point of money, making money. And he said to me, imagine we're this age now, he said, middle age. I mean, how the hell do we get here? Where the hell are we going? And then we almost calculated to the day when we left school. And he said to me, time is getting short for making money. It's a good line. Very good line. And that's what happens. Because money is mathematics. And with mathematics, you have numbers. And when you calculate days, weeks, months, years, seasons in between and so on, and you project, and that's what accounting does, and you're trying to budget for spending, you look at your year ahead, or whatever period, be it household budget or your business budget, cash flow projections, profit and loss accounts similarly, but not the same. But anyway, you look at the budgeting certainly to begin with, and your influx of cash or resources. But if we just keep them to cash and to money for now, you plan for rainy days and you plan for basic expenditure, be it light, heat, or using basic business to start up with, and the guarantees, the rent, and any unforeseen damage, discrepancies, what ifs, and you can calculate from here on how much potentially you can make, certainly within the industry that you're working in, or if it's a job thing, you can calculate straight away. You can get the bulk amount, and then you got to start deleting things, or even decreasing it more so by specific amounts, such as you will be sick for a certain period, because it's more than likely going to happen. Or if it doesn't, somebody around you will be sick. You'll have to take time off, because over 10, 20, 30 years, whatever length of time you have left in the work world, when you're considered obsolete, that is, by a certain standard of societal measures, governmental measures, Western world measures, well, there's certainly going to be time that you're going to have to take off. Okay. Then you start taking away other aspects, such as the guaranteed things of holidays, that cost money as well. Guaranteed things of enforced holidays, like Christmas time, maybe summertime. Perhaps your company, your job says to you, look, you cannot do any work on that day. Or maybe your industry is not alive and well on that day or those days. So it's not necessarily 365 days a year where you can make money, unless you get into certain business creations or certain business flows of money. And that's separate. But I'm just taking the 9 to 5 for now, for example. So for the ordinary guy, in order to build his leadership regime and become successful in that regard, start off, I have to start taking things into account. When I say account, start taking it into a financial account. And just even right now, like if you've got your pen and pencil out in your phone and start adding up all the potential money you could earn with your basic income, deduct the taxes, deduct then the expenses, such as living expenses, light and heat, rent, from your salary, and you will start seeing what you're left with. Then divide it out into years, then months, then back to weeks and days, and you'll see your expenditure. Then start factoring in sickness. Maybe you will have a child, maybe you have children, maybe you have dependents. Maybe another pandemic will come. Maybe there are unforeseen events. And there will be. That's life. So, with that, you have to start realizing that if you stand still right now and you compare the money, more so the income, more specifically, because the money needs to have deductions, doesn't it? But if you have the projected income over, say, 20 years, we'll keep it nice and round, and then compare to the previous 20 years, 2 different accounts, and look at the figures. And it's quite possible, because now maybe you're skilled, more experienced, more respected in your field, that you will earn more. Great. But you're aging. Dun, dun, dun. So there's potentially more deductions, or the people around you that you love and respect the most are aging too, or there's more work needed on your house, or there's something dragging it down. Numbers go up, numbers go down. Income and outcome. So there are differences, alterations. But if you do that basic comparison between now the next 20 and the last 20 years, or if you just want to do it one average year, multiply it by 20 and one average year, you can simplify it that way. Anyway, do it something like that. And then see the figures on the piece of paper, left and right, before and after. Before being your previous 20 years, after being the next 20 potentially. You can go, wow, look at that money, woohoo, when you're looking at the right column, because you're saying, I'm going to earn all that money. I'm going to have that in my bank account. Whoa! And that is fantastic. And you might start thinking, I can pretty much put myself on an autopilot, go to bed at a certain time, because I do. I'm very good at habits now at this age. And I can get up at a certain time, and I just go in and respect it. I sit at my desk, do whatever I do, come home 8 hours later, and everything works hunky-dory. And then you look back at the previous 20. And what I want you to do then is look at that, the numbers, incoming and outgoing, and start, because I've done this, and start looking at what the hell happened in your life for 20 years. And when I say, I'm not just talking about the income and the accounts now. I'm talking about where did the money go? Like, did somebody just like walk beside you late at night and put their hand in their pocket, reach in and take all your money out? And does this happen regularly? Because it sure will feel like that when you look back on things. And you'll probably go to yourself, God, I had a good year there. What the heck happened? Where did that bulk sum go to? You might even start knocking on doors and saying to people that were trusted with money, that had your back or were supposed to have your back, and saying, where did you put that money? Now, I wouldn't advise doing that, but my point here is that, and I've done it myself, is that it is going to be a rocky road ahead. That is life, my friend. Life does that. It doesn't stop for no man or woman, and it doesn't give you a clear plan. But all you can do is plan ahead. And then from there, you try and make sure the plan works. Because that much is in your control. How much can you plan? Well, as much as possible and more. Because you'll need it. There will be external indicators along the way. There will be a heck of a lot of interruption. Which means you wanted the money you thought you had. Now, if we start looking externally, projecting ahead now 20 years, and here's where I'm at, and we start looking at how the world is advised to be changing, woohoo! Then we start comparing it to how we planned, if we did plan our lives out 20 years beforehand. And there's one guaranteed thing, even if we built our plans, our best laid plans, when we were younger, on say our talents and abilities or things we love to do or we try to practice to be better at, and eventually attain those skills and the respect within our industries to do that, and therefore got paid a certain amount extra because of that. Those skills, abilities mightn't necessarily be the things that will be paid for in the future. I mean, if you want to take technology and how it's moved on in the period of 20 years, take any 20 years over your lifetime and beyond, about how that has changed. I won't say progressed, I'll say changed for now, to keep it simple. It's been magnificent. It's been unbelievable. You would never have thought the things, well, the average person wouldn't have thought the things and the changes that would occur, did occur, and how people's lives in general changed as a result. So now you start bringing in your energy, you start bringing in the best of you, your skills, your abilities, and you start looking at the future years versus the past. And I don't want to scare you, but it becomes more challenging in how we think with regard to planning ahead, because we start realizing that, oops, how the heck am I going to survive? How the heck am I going to thrive? Now look, I've based the last few minutes on accounts, ingoing cash, outflowing cash. And that was a good way to start, I think. I did the exercise. I implore you to do the same. Then you compare your previous 20 years and your future 20 years. But what that is not including is all of the emotion of life, all of the unbelievably positive things in life that can occur, and negative. As Mr. Albert Einstein once said, those who can adapt are the ones that will be successful. Well, he said something along those lines. Your ability to adapt, take that into account, and there's the word account again. Well, what happens then is that your accounts actually bolster, they become bigger, your money becomes bigger. And someone else's money becomes smaller. Now, not that you're stealing from them, not late at night putting your hands in somebody else's pockets, but you're actually adapting better and in a more timely fashion than others. Therefore, you're becoming ahead of the game. And in business, that is extremely important, despite whatever business you are in or hoping to be in. So, when we factor all of these things in, I start thinking to myself about, how am I doing? And when I say it out loud to myself, and these are only a couple of parts of life, they are very seriously important, of course. Our relationships, marriage, long-term sustainability. As somebody said once, make sure you got somebody good when you're old. Children, maybe they're the good parts, but if you can't get a child, or if you think that way, certainly like me, certainly up until now, with regard to getting a good prospective female in that regard, and money, income, how the heck do I live? And if everybody's thinking that way, or if you're thinking that way, keep picking, cracking branches and stuff. Must have a bigger audience than I thought. No, maybe it's the cows. They don't think about those things, do they? Maybe that's what we need to do, is take the advice from nature and stop worrying about things. Maybe that's what I need to do. And just know that I'm alive right now. And I could open up a page and start jotting down, certainly, and I'm sure you can too, of all the people that I've lost along the way, and the people that were lost if my life was a drama and there was bit part actors in it, some walking on and off, or people that were just there for a moment. They all had their part, and I in their lives. But a lot have been lost, and that's what happens as you grow older. So I'm thankful to be here still. I'm thankful to have taken the time, I think, for myself at least, to make this video and to think about a couple of aspects of life that lead into my bigger question of, have I lost the best of me and I won't get it back, essentially? And where am I going from that with regard to being afraid, or potentially afraid, of the wasted years? Or maybe the wasted years have been an active practice, if it only within the realms of the aspects of life that I've spoken about. And maybe they were the best ever practices to bring me to this point in life, where upon the awakening has arisen me enough to figure it out, to realize that, as one great film, an actor, Tom Hanks, once said, something in the line of, life is a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. But also, you just don't know whether it's laid out for you. Or, indeed, you have the opportunity to take the action, and the right action going forward. But certainly, if you're live, you're watching still, we all have more moments to come. So let's put our best foot forward, fearlessly. Thanks for watching. Please like this video. If you subscribe, comment to say that you have, and we'll look after you.